as Eli Manning stays on his feet. It is caught by Tyree.
Welcome back to Catch the Moment podcast. It's your host, David Tyree, back for another exciting episode. It's always friends and family here, but today I'm excited to have a guest who has imparted wisdom, insight to me as a person, to my players, to the people that I've impacted. Elaine, how are you?
I'm great. It's so good to be with you.
It's always good. We do this on the regular.
We do.
So it's long overdue to have you at the orange table. Welcome to the orange table.
I am honored. I love it. Good color.
Obviously, this is always about the process, the journey. It's about, that human experience that's going to get us to the destination that we desire. But before, I'm known for a moment. Where were you when you first saw the helmet catch? What was your thought, response, story, memory, anything?
I grew up not far from Rutherford, New Jersey. I grew up in Clark, New Jersey. So
okay.
I was always
Parkway,
a Giants fan.
big shout, Jersey
Exit
folk.
135. And I was always a Giants fan. So I was at a Super Bowl party. I don't remember whose house I was at that year. Could be because I know.
Were you drunk or why can't you remember?
No, I don't drink. I always drink water. It's just I do too many things that I forget.
I tell people I drink all the time. I drink coffee, I drink water. I'm just messing.
It could be because I now live in the Philadelphia area, and I'm married to an Eagles fan, and I probably was at a Super Bowl party with lots of Philly people, and they're tough. You know how they are.
Listen.
But I'm never afraid to.
You ain't afraid?
No, I'll root for my guys in blue. I'll go against those birds. So I was probably the only one. It could have been. I remember being at a party. It was in a bar. I think a bunch of us were watching, and I was the only one going, "Yay!" And they're all looking at me like, "Get out of here!" And so it could have been that. But all I know is I was cheering,
going crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I know you love me now, so it's no.
That's all that matters. The heck with what you did back then.
No, that's pretty awesome. No, it's funny you talking about. It's always fun making a reference to Philly fans. I tell people I played at a few cool stadiums. Seattle was the loudest, but Philly's the most obnoxious. Philly, I tell people, New Yorkers, we got our whole little vibe here, but we kind of had more of a Starbucks crowd. It was more talk. Philly was wait, we ready to go to jail for this. We ready to go to prison. We are completely ready to die.
No one wants to be the away team at the link. They do not want to be there.
Oh, boy. And I actually remember the vet as well. I remember actually in college, I played on that godforsaken field. So you being locked in, it might have been, wise for you to keep your voice down, even while, but you were bold. Good for you.
I don't.
So you are a professional speaker, communicator, keynoter. Obviously, I have learned much. You have facilitated sessions for our New York Giant rookies year in and year out.
Yes.
So of course we're going to get into some of your journey, but how did you, it's an invaluable skill. Can you talk about how you got into it and, just how did you get into storytelling, communicating?
For years I would stand up and give like awards at informal gatherings or whatever, and people would come up to me and say, "You should be a speaker." I was like, "Oh, okay."
So you would get it?
Yeah, it was just a natural. I was good at communicating. I was the queen of punish assignments in elementary school, so it's nice revenge that I can look at my teachers now and go, "I get money to do this."
Do this, that's right.
So, but life happens while you make other plans. I was a dental hygienist for many years, and I was working with my husband Jeff doing restoration of antique porcelain objects.
Okay.
And then we found out that my stepdad had contracted HIV from a medical product that was made from human plasma, and he unknowingly passed it on to my mom. So between the diagnosis and their deaths of both of them, it was a 5-year journey. And we had to keep it a secret. So imagine finding out that both of your parents are going to die and you can't tell anybody. It's hard.
What year was this? Because, we've been through such an evolution. I remember as a kid, I'm a kid in the 80s.
Right.
And there was like the AIDS.
89, he was diagnosed.
There you go.
He died in 90, and then my mom died in 1995.
So we're talking about a totally different era of AIDS and HIV
and
awareness, the
and
fear.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it. The stigma, they didn't want anybody to know. And she finally told eventually 5 friends, and one of them rejected her, didn't even come to her funeral. So it was, we watched it. And we watch them die in secrecy and shame. And nobody should do that, regardless of how you are dying.
Yeah.
You deserve to go out with dignity and with the loved ones around you.
Yeah.
So a week and a half before she died, I said, Mom, can I speak out and can I start telling people the truth? Because if we don't, we're not going to teach people about the prejudices against those with AIDS. And she wasn't able to speak, but she nodded her head yes.
Wow.
And so she's not up there going, damn you, Elaine. And so I called the health department in Bucks County, where I live,
Sure.
Pennsylvania, and they immediately brought me into schools. And I just started speaking. And about 2 years after that, I called a local college and I pitched my program. One person can make a difference in your life.
Start right there.
There's a whole study about the value of weak ties. And
Weak ties?
The weak ties, the value of weak ties. And it was done at Stanford University, 1974. And they found that the people within your inner circle that speak your language are not necessarily the people that are going to give you the great opportunities to move forward career-wise in your life.
Ooh.
But it's the people that you nonchalantly brush up against that make the biggest difference.
So you got to step out of comfort zone to really find the opportunities that are going to propel.
Like telling young people, don't sit in your basement and play video games. Get out there. Even if you're working at a store, whatever.
Yeah.
You're coming in contact. And you have to talk to people. Get the headphones out. Start talking. Otherwise, you miss those connections. So I was brought in to Delaware Valley College to do a program for their RAs. And the dean of students sat me down in the office after and said, do you have a speaking agent? And I said, no. And he goes, well, there's a lot of people that do this for a living, and they charge a lot more than you charged us.
Yeah.
And there's people that actually are on the college circuit.
Yeah.
And this guy named Jay Wright mentored me. He spent a ton of time helping me to get in touch with agents and getting all my material together.
Amazing.
That one person that I knew for 1 hour made a huge difference in my life.
Man, you just jumped off the ledge, and there's so much good stuff. No, but it's great because number one, you started with obviously pain created purpose, right? Just
most painful experience in my life took me to the most gratifying.
No, that is so powerful. And I think it's just such a unique opportunity for us to see how we can be empowered, right, by something that can ultimately prove to be painful. I know in the human experience, we kind of want to reject any form of suffering.
Yes.
But I think that, as we evolve, grow, live long enough, we start to realize that's usually the places where we identify the most meaningful and rich experiences and growth, development, and ultimately purpose. I just wanted to squeeze that out because you are living it.
No, you're right. You learn more from your trials than you do from your triumphs.
No,
but it's how you choose to deal with them. And treat them. It makes a difference in a person's life for being someone who survives. So, and then I just built it, and I started speaking to colleges, but after 2 years, I started hearing all the stories of kids who are messing up their lives because of bad choices.
There it is.
Alcohol, sexual assault, the sexual health, all of this stuff, drug abuse. So I broadened my area of expertise.
Great.
And I started studying, incorporating all that, and did programs accordingly. And then I called the New York Giants one year. Well, actually, I created a niche for working with collegiate athletes in around 2002.
So what was your first sports program that you spoke for? Like, what was the first speaking experience where you were like, oh my gosh,
I can't believe
this is really, I'm pushing the needle here. I'm like,
well, I mean, being with Nick Saban 5 times is
that's
like, he comes in the room and he's got his reading glasses on and he's sitting there with his reading material while you're talking. All of a sudden he takes the glasses off and he zeroes in on you and you're going, oh my God, Nick Saban is
looking through my soul.
Now, I don't remember who my first D1 program was.
Well, no, that's memorable enough. Obviously, you're talking about the most iconic football. And I hate to say this, I'm on the orange table. We love you, Syracuse, but we're not even close.
I did speak to
Syracuse.
I love Syracuse.
Okay, we're back in business.
They were good. I enjoyed them. They were like, please come to our games. They don't come to our games like they do in the South. They were great. It was a wonderful group of young men.
Yeah, they still got the dome, but it's cold up there. Nobody just casually rolling into Syracuse, New York.
It's a beautiful university.
It is. Private university is beautiful. So obviously you've spoken to many, many colleges. So let me talk about it because I think, I'm like in this transition space, and obviously life is an active transition. You actually mentioned something. We talked about you broaden your areas of expertise. That takes a tremendous amount of intention and faith. What is that process like, right? Because for the athlete, you have to learn new skills. For the speaker, you have to gain different areas of credibility. So take me a layer or two beneath that process for you and how people can take the first step at gaining more experience and credibility in different topics as a speaker.
I think most important is to do your research, but do your research with reliable sources. And
here we go.
Because, you can pull anything from the internet, but you just don't know
That
what
is-
you're pulling. And so you have to know who you're going to.
Correct.
The CDC, the National Institutes of Health, addiction services. And then I was going to conferences too.
Excellent.
So I learned a lot from conferences, and I learned a lot from my colleagues. I think it's so important, especially for a speaker. So many speakers have agents, and they now have a barrier between them and their clients.
Yeah.
And you don't learn. And so by the time I get there, I'm already really good friends with people. But more importantly, I talk to them and I learn from them.
This is
about,
good.
I'll say to them, what are your greatest issues? What are your concerns? And things had changed. I mean, things changed so much from 1997 when 95 is when I started speaking.
Yeah.
But I got on the college circuit in 97.
Okay.
And things have changed. You didn't have social media.
No, that's
you-
my era. Cheers.
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't have made it.
No. And we just, so much has changed. So I needed to grow and change with them. And I always needed to do my homework. I needed to talk to students. I needed to talk to administrators.
This is good.
And so you just fill your bucket from every source that you can, but be careful of what you're filling it with.
Yeah.
You don't want to bring the wrong things.
Obviously, the key word is credibility, right?
Yes.
And I think, credibility, sometimes it can be real convoluted, but at the end of the day, we talk about a variety of resources. You talk about students. We talk about, information sites, credible sites. It's so important because when we talk about evolving, growing, and remaining, I'm very careful with how I use the word relevant, because relevant is actually a term that is relevant.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, it's like people always want to dismiss. It's a very dismissive word.
Right.
And I think, there's probably a better word that we can find in relation to remaining, up to date, in tune, especially as the world changes and you're looking to solve problems for certain population groups. That's pretty amazing. So you already kind of mentioned this, like you talked about people being wired. So, and you got this naturally, we vibed immediately because of just we got a lot going on. We got Jersey, we got Jersey roots. The Jersey roots are deep. Y'all, I'm always on here.
You can't refute
giving the Garden State shout outs, but how, what are some steps? And I think, of course, for emerging generations, we're finding greater distance in communication, right? From text to social media to now we're going AI and metaverse, right?
That's
so
scary.
What are some intentional steps that, people are going to have? You already actually mentioned the risks that we're going to have to take to remain useful as communicators and, kind of gapping some of the divide that technology and some of our means of communication.
I think the most important thing is having eye contact with people and connecting this way. And we're spending too much time looking at this.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I've seen it on campuses, and I hear coaches talking about it. I see it now. I do work with corporations and businesses now too. But you're seeing that people are glued to this.
Yeah.
And we're in a loneliness epidemic right now.
Yeah.
And I say to them, you know why you're so lonely? Because you're ignoring the person that's standing right next to you.
Right next to you.
And I pick up people. I have a lot of friends who I've picked up in grocery stores, and because I like talking to people.
Great.
And people who are more social live longer. They go into the blue zones. Those are the areas of the world where people
There we go,
live
the
the
blue
longest.
zones. I'm aware of them.
Mediterranean diet. They
Yeah.
garden, and they're extremely social. And I think it helps boost our immune system, all these things. But you learn so much.
Yeah.
Some people are not as, Jeff, my husband, has called me pathologically social. So I get energized by people.
That's fantastic.
But a lot of other people get drained by it. So they need to know how much they can take before they need to pull back to re-energize themselves.
That's so true. No, I love the way you said that. It's so funny because I've been a very social being. But, I think there's also this evolution, right? Like, and I think when you're in service, like, I'm social with purpose. Like,
Right.
if I'm going to be present, I'm going to be fully present.
Right.
And, but I realized this, I'm probably a little bit more of an introvert in relation to just how I live. When I come home, I actually just want to be
Yes.
still, be present. But if we're on, we are absolutely on. If we're out, we are absolutely out.
Right. Well, you're recharging.
Yeah, exactly. It's the
that's good.
recharge.
And I think that's important that we get to know ourselves
That's so.
and what works better and what doesn't work better.
I've always loved your journey, but also your commitment to growth and development. What do you feel like has been some of your hidden recipe to this remaining youthful in the midst of, an evolving world and, still having the opportunity to contribute on so many different levels?
Be curious. Be curious and just keep talking to people and hang out with younger people.
There you go.
And always want to learn. I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly filling my brain, my soul.
Sure.
I've been speaking for 27 years professionally.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to conferences to learn how to be a better speaker. You can always be better. You
listen.
can always learn more.
Cheers to that.
No, it's true. And younger people, like I just got back from a retreat in Asheville, North Carolina. It was 9 speakers. I've known a number of them for a few years. Few I've met for the first time.
Great.
I was 15, 20 years older than them.
Wow.
And they invited me.
That's awesome.
And they kept saying, we love your energy. And so, I love being with different people of different age groups. My friends are all complaining about their aches and pains. They're not fun to be with anymore.
No, that's absolutely amazing. So talk to me really, really briefly about, how long have you been married now?
Jeff and I have been married, well, Evan's 33 years.
33 years.
But we
Together?
But we were together before that and had a home and had a business.
How many years y'all been together?
37 going
37.
on.
Excellent.
Yes.
So
Yes.
37 years. All right. I could imagine many ebbs and flows, wins and losses. What is the fabric, that has tied you two together in the midst of this relationship, moving pieces and work, different schedules? Me and my wife got something going on. I always like to understand the inner dichotomy of what it takes, because we don't have enough lasting relationships in this era anymore, right? So what has worked extremely well for you?
I think, and I tell people this all the time, friendship. We were friends for 2 years before we got together. I was actually in another relationship.
Ooh, he came and got you.
Don't tell anybody.
Say he's just a friend.
And
You
so,
say he's just a friend. Oh, baby.
but this time it worked. He hated my track record, and then I was like, no, but I stayed with you. But anyway.
Don't worry, I saved
Yeah,
Liala too. I had to come and rescue her. I was like, hey, you are way below your standard here, honey.
It worked too.
No doubt.
So, no, you know what? Having that, it is easy to fall in lust.
Come on now. Ooh.
It's easier to even fall in love, but the lust fades faster, especially when the kids come in and the bills come in and all this stuff and all this pressure. But if you still have a friendship and you have a lot in common, like we have a lot in common.
That's
We
good.
have a music jam at our house we just had a party of 30 people singing out on the patio.
Yeah.
We've been jamming for years together. He likes museums. We like sports. We like a lot of the same things, but yet we still live very independent lives too.
That's fantastic.
And so we have a nice balance of filling
Differences.
ourselves up and enjoying each other's company.
I tell people you have to have shared values, but
Yes.
but you marry for differences. I tell people all the time is like the nature of the relationship is the complementary side of it, right?
Yes.
Like, and I think sometimes we just don't celebrate the differences
Right.
enough, right? And isn't that the root of what diversity is really rooted in? But even in a monogamous relationship, in a healthy relationship, there's differences that actually work to our benefit.
And you have to appreciate them.
There you go. You got to celebrate.
That's
Big shout out to Jeff. Jeff's a rock star.
He loves you.
No, it's
Should we
pretty
tell him that he
amazing.
wanted to wear his Eagles hat into the
Oh
Giants?
yeah,
at one
yeah.
time?
He
That's a
tried to
great
violate.
story.
He tried to violate. But we don't. We clip the wings. We clip wings around here. We make
the
sure
whole way over. Take that Eagles hat off, Jeff. No, David will think it's funny. Finally, I had my hand on the handle of the building after asking about 5 times, and I said, "Take the blanket hat off now."
Don't mess up the business.
That was it. Yeah.
Don't mess up the business. Even from a professional side, what was a pivotal moment? Because I know that COVID was difficult for speakers. And what were some crushing moments where you really had to do soul searching and deeper digging, maybe than even more? You might find a rhythm in the cadence in your professional life. What was an experience that you felt like was really transformational in your evolution as a speaker?
Well, as a speaker, and I tell people this all the time, we don't have the guarantee that we have a job on Monday and we're going to get a paycheck on Friday.
Come on, somebody.
So we are constantly going through these challenges.
Sure.
And we have to fight hard for every gig we get. And I look at the ebb and flow of my career. My career still has not totally recovered from COVID. And a lot of us have not.
Sure.
Some have. It depends on what they're talking about.
True.
And I am breaking more into doing business and corporation work and things like that as well. But what happened in my career, coaches get fired.
Yeah.
And they take everybody with them.
Yeah, man, they fired me too.
I got fired the same year you did. I was 9 years with the Giants. But, and that had happened a number of times, like Alabama, been with them 5 times.
Sure.
And now the person who hired me is no longer in that position.
Yeah.
I can't get my foot back in the door. And I've had that with many universities. And then sometimes it can work for you because the person that gets fired goes somewhere else. And then they take you somewhere else. So it just works like that. So I think the thing is learning to accept rejection with grace and dignity and be willing to dust your, and I've even said this, I've spoken to audiences about that, and I say, we are our own worst enemies. And so we hit a setback and we're like, they don't like me, they're going to reject me. And if you get rejected, dust yourself off, pick yourself up and move on. And you have to have self-confidence. The first time I reached out to the NFL, it was a contact that was at the Giants before you were there that connected me to the person who was head of player development at the NFL.
Nice.
And they asked me, the woman who was in charge at that time, asked me to send an outline of my program. So I sent it. Didn't hear anything for 3 solid weeks. And I was sitting there at my computer, and all of a sudden, an email drops in from her. And I was like, I don't want to open it. Because I was certain it was going to be a rejection. Yeah. And opened it up, and he said, Elaine, we really like this program. Would you please schedule a time to come into New York to present this to us?
Excellent.
And so we have to have the confidence.
Sure.
That's what's helped my career tremendously. When I've had those setbacks, is believing in myself and believing in my work and just saying, I don't care what other people are saying. I'm going to keep pushing forward. I'm not going to let anybody take the wind out of my sails.
That is fantastic. But this is something that we must constantly. I tell people the difference is you have to believe and know, right? And the confidence is sometimes we're in the believing space, but we're not knowing that we're actually purposed for these opportunities. And the road to get there, it has those rejections, the setbacks, the obstructions, the impediments, whatever it is, there's a cost to get the reward. Yeah. And but who you become in the process is what makes it.
You get stronger.
There you go.
And I think what you have to do to help believe in yourself is keep remembering the positive feedback that you have gotten along the way and the people that you know that you've touched. And
this is key.
And this is human nature because I remember seeing Robin Roberts at a conference, and she talked about that, and she said, you'll get all these accolades, and somebody will write to you and go, I hate your lipstick. And then the rest of the day you're thinking, my lipstick, maybe it was the wrong color. And, I could get 50 evaluations, and one person will say, wow, she really was awful, and blah, 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 or something. And you memorize it, and you run it through your head the whole rest of the day, and you have to let it go.
This is because this is the age where, not just even in relation to feedback from clients, but social media, right? You can have 10 comments and there's one bad comment and it can destroy someone's belief structure or idea, or maybe I shouldn't have said it this way. And it's this idea that we have to be perfect or we're going to satisfy everyone's. We have to have some sense of sobriety, mean be challenged, be willing to be challenged, but have the confidence that your message is proven for the people that it's really proven for, right?
And you also have to remember that there's just some people who are really negative.
Come on, and some jerks out here.
Yeah, the hell with you. And social media, people are spewing. You know, I have a program on social media, and I talk about that, how mean we've gotten because people can type whatever they want and not see the hurt in the receiver's eyes.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you what. You say see the hurt. I say, you know, like I'm like, man, you would get punched in the face, right? Like I'm from the era of punching people in the face,
and walk out,
right? And it's like if you had to be tough enough to say something and bear the consequences of what you said, right? And that's the biggest barrier and buffer between social media is that, you know, I guess they call them Twitter fingers and things of that nature, is that people are talking the game that their true strength of character really doesn't stand up to more times than not. So it's cowardice, right? That pervades their strength, and there's not enough consequences, sadly. Right now, you got burner accounts and all this other stuff. So I really love the opportunity that all the social media channels present. But man, it's a hard evolution when you're dealing with real consequences, real time. Yeah. Like you knew certain people you couldn't say certain things to.
Those bullies.
Yeah. Right. Whether they were bullies, whether they were just, you know, real people.
Right.
Or, you know what? And if I do say it, I have to be willing to stand on it. Right.
Right.
And I think, just like you said, it's a good litmus test that we have to kind of reevaluate. Do I mean what I say, or am I just insecure?
Right.
In who I am internally.
Right.
So no, it's a powerful dialogue. It's a really powerful dialogue. What are you most excited about? You know, like I said, I know you've added a lot of value to different populations, groups, different topics. Is there a topic or a community or a demographic that you're really excited to kind of give some of your resources and experience to moving forward?
My heart will always be with the college students.
Got it.
But that's tough. It's tougher work, and I want to expand it to other fields. One person asked me recently, in an ideal world, what's your favorite audience? I said, nothing makes me happier than to be in a room with a group of football players. You
got to talk about this. Why? Give me one.
You know, maybe because I'm so big and I come in and they look at me like, oh, you know, I'm 5'3", I weigh 105 pounds. So I walk in the room and they're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And I just have this connection with these young men, and they open up and they share, and the intimate conversations that I have with them are remarkable. And they get me, and I get them, and there's just this wonderful symbiotic relationship that I have with them. But it's nice to do new things. So I am now working again with some businesses and doing corporate. I have my highest paying speech coming up in a few weeks for for the Snow and Ice Management Association.
Oh, nice.
These are the people that are out there plowing our roads when we're home cozy, warm. And
I got a keynote. Don't slip, don't trip.
Yeah, right. And it's in Florida. I'm going to come out with a winter jacket and a hat on and stuff. But I've been doing work with diversity and inclusion for a number of years because a couple campuses asked me to develop training for them.
Okay.
So I've been doing that now for human resource managers and law firms and doing that. But somebody from National Speaker Association recently said to me, you know, Elaine, you should be doing a program on how to live and age well, because you're living the dream.
Yes, you are.
And because I defy my age and I have a lot of energy. So it's something that I might look forward to doing too. It's always fun to try new things.
You should. You know, I'm like I said, I've always embraced every stage of life. I get excited about aging. Like I'm alive.
Yeah, it's good.
It's the evidence of me being alive.
You get smarter too.
There you go.
It's wisdom.
Yes.
Till your brain shrinks and then you forget things. But
I know. Memory wise, I'm usually people have to recall my memory. I'm like, so getting older is like, okay, we're going to have to do some memory exercises around here. We're going to be very intentional.
What would you do without Lila, right?
Listen, that's my wife. That's my lovely. So Give me what you believe, Elaine. Here's the kicker. What would you call your defining moment in your life or your career?
Being on a larger stage for National Speakers Association and speaking in front of my colleagues and having the feedback and the warmth and the cred, that I got because of that. Working with the most amazing athletic teams, major Division I football programs, quite a few NFL teams, Major League Baseball teams, NBA teams. I pinch myself. And in fact, the time that I was doing the training, I did the training for the NFL. Mm-hmm. And this is a defining moment too. This is good. And you'll relate to this being from New Jersey. It was the year of the labor lockout. And they had me develop a program for the teen practitioners. And so I was at the NFL headquarters in New York on Park Avenue, and I was ready to go on virtually to work with them. We had sent them all the materials, the interactive exercises that I do. Yeah. And I was standing there in the room by myself, and we were all set up, and I was looking down on Park Avenue, and I thought, God, if my friends from Clark, New Jersey, could see little old Elaine who grew up on Gertrude Street standing here in the NFL headquarters.
Yes.
It's just, I never take anything for granted. I've pinched myself many times. And even if I'm just in a room with a few people, and just, when your heart is full, I've spoken to audiences as large as 3,000, and my smallest was 1. And it was at a campus in Ohio. And they had a tornado warning, literally 10 minutes before the program started. And this girl came in staggering, and her hair was like blown in a beehive. And she said to me, I have to write a paper on this.
Oh, gosh.
And she sat in the front row, and I took a chair, and we literally sat touching knee to knee, and I gave her an hour's worth of information for her paper.
What?
And so you walk away, and you just go,
now that's my takeaway right there. I love the way that came out, and I have a statement that I says in relation to my faith. I want to live for an audience of 1.
Yes.
And I think even when you're communicating, there's so much value and virtue in that. These are like skills and takeaways with finding eye contact in the room and things of that nature. But there's something very special for when you can be impacted by an individual in a way where you felt like this was a one-on-one engagement.
Yes. So, and sometimes my favorite moments are after the program where people come up to me and share. Or I've helped a lot of young women who've been sexually assaulted. And they write to me afterwards, and they share their stories. And the minute I get that email, I write back, give me your phone number. I'm not writing to you. We're going to talk about this. And I have spent many, many hours on the phone with survivors. I helped one young woman through a suicide ideation episode and helped get her into the right channels to get the help that she needed. And so to me, those are, you can have an audience standing there and all going, yay, and clapping, but it's those one-on-one moments that really make a difference when you know that you can touch somebody.
You've been clearly doing that. The power of, you taking hold of your pain and really fueling that with tremendous purpose and just living, like when I get these experiences to just hear more of your story, there's so much impact and legacy involved. So just thank you for living. I know there's more in front.
I'm not done yet.
There's more in front. Where can we find you? And, just want to make sure we have the avenue for any of our guest listeners to
be impacted by your platform. I would love to work with you. Yes, please call me. Phone number, email?
Whatever you want.
Okay, phone number 215-348-5355. You can also reach me, Elaine, at Elaine Pasqua, P-A-S, as in Sam, QUA.com. And my website is ElainePasqua.com. So you can see, I've worked with the military, I've worked with many different audiences.
Sure.
And I love that variety. To touch different people.
I know how even having you with the Giants for a few years, and listen, I know how it is to be a young man. It's like there's nothing like in this like it's a motherly, but it's like the cool mom. It's like Elaine is the cool mom. It's like she's not like my mom, but she's like how you envision your mom to be. It's like because most people don't have. Like I would say majority of people, and everybody comes from a different experience, right?
Right.
most people don't have this fluid relationship with their parents where they feel like everything's on the table, right? It might be some.
Right.
It's like, well, I can't talk about that with my parents, right? Like, so I think that's some of your uniqueness, especially with that population of athletes, is there's a freedom and a liberty in your connection. And I just really want to encourage everybody, is like that kind of freedom and authenticity will always create a bridge of access for people.
And you have to be non-judgmental. And this is the problem that I see. I could write a book about some of the stuff I did. I was pretty wild, but I always had my goals, and I always knew when to step away from things. But the thing is that so many people that I know, as they go through life, they forget what it was like to be a 21, 22, 23-year-old.
There you go.
And they become judgmental. And you can't. You still always have to put yourself in that person's shoes so you can be open to them. I mean, my kids, even now, I'm still getting it. My sons are in their 30s. I'll get calls from their friends, and they'll share really intimate, like, I just hooked up with somebody and I did this, what do I do?
Like, I'm gross. I just did something gross.
And I'm like, and I'm thinking, I can't believe I'm having conversations like they share all the dirty details. But it's good because I like being the person that they know that I'm safe to come to. I'm safe.
It feels safe. And it's powerful. But Elaine, can't thank you enough for being a friend and advocate. And just having you here, spend some time sharing some of your insight. I know that people who have stories of pain can now be empowered to encourage. So just thank you for being a friend in general. Thank you for coming on Catch the Moment podcast.
I appreciate your friendship too. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
You are the best. Listen, everybody,
Thanks.
Make sure y'all tune in. Find Elaine on LanePasqua.com, I believe. DavidTyree85.com. We are continuing to push the needle so that you can get to your next great moment. Grace and peace.